Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu. I'm your host, Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House, here with a multi-dimensional Charles Coulombe.
Multi-dimensional?
Oh, yeah.
You mean like I'm not just restricted to three-dimensional space.
That's right.
I operate in 4, 5, 6, 7 dimensions at once.
Yes, with non-Euclidean shapes.
I see. Well, that would explain a lot about the 13th floor. It would also explain why it is that I'm unable to remember. I'm sorry, what were we talking about again?
The 13th floor?
Oh, yeah. Well, the 13th floor, if I'm not multidimensional, it would explain why when I go through the 13th floor, I don't. I'm sorry, what were we talking about again?
We're just saying how you're multidimensional in the introduction.
Ah, well, yes. It's all very strange if you ask me.
Yeah. So, how are you doing? Are you feeling better?
I am feeling much better. I actually went to a conference in Vienna. It would have been harder than it was, but I discovered a really soft chair. So while the lectures went on, I was able to sit comfortably, which was great. And that's not all. That's not all by a long shot. Today is the 21st. It's the Feast of St. Agnes. It's the anniversary, the 230th anniversary of Louis XVI being murdered by the French revolutionaries. It would have been my father's 97th birthday if he were alive today. It is snowing here in Austria.
I'm jealous.
You should be. Right now, it is 31 degrees Fahrenheit. And last night, today being the Feast of St. Agnes, last night was the Eve of St. Agnes. And you know what that means, all of you Keats fans out there. 'Twas the Eve of St. Agnes. Ah, bitter chill it was. The owl, for all his feathers, was a cold. Isn't it a wonderful thing when it's awfully cold outside the way it is right now to be in a toasty, warm environment, comfy and cozy? Isn't that great? Wouldn't you love to just be so warm? But you had that this past week, the rains in SoCal.
Oh man, it was incredible downpour. All the sort of golden hills are now a very lush green. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
SoCal when the hills are green. But of course, before then, because ladies and gentlemen, my friends here didn't understand why I felt like I was missing out. But it rains so rarely like that in SoCal. And when it does, when you're in your house, you can pretend it's really cold. It's not terribly, but you can pretend. And you're dry and you're comfy and you're safe and you're drinking tea or coffee or something. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's tough to drive in though, because Angelenos do not know how to drive in the rain. They just they go on their brains go into neutral. And people don't seem to realize that either jamming on the brakes or speeding up is not smart when the freeway is half underwater. It's just not a good move. But once you get home and you hear the pitter patter of the rain, and better yet still, it's when you're in bed and the rain is pouring down. I'm just thinking of it. There's nothing quite like being in bed on a rainy day or rainy night, even better. The problem with the morning is that you got to get up. Whereas when you get into bed when the rain's coming down, you've got the whole night ahead of you. In the immortal words of the song John of Dreams, the hawks of morning cannot reach you here. And there you are in your safe, warm, cozy bed in the pouring rain. And these are some of the joys, ladies and gentlemen, that you can have if you live in Southern California during the rainy season.
Absolutely.
You can listen to Dennis Prager. You can.
That's really random.
Yeah, well, random is what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I have a right to random. I'm like Rover Random.
Not familiar.
It's all right. Those who get it will. Those who don't, it's all right.
All right. What should we jump to? Should we jump to the memes of production?
Nationalize the memes of production.
For the common good. All right.
What do we got?
So we have a genuine meme from Cal who says, "My feeling when Pope Francis almost defends the church from German heretics." So let's see the picture here. Here it is on the screen. "I say to German Catholics, Germany has a great and beautiful evangelical church. I do not want another one, which will not be as good as that one, but I want a Catholic one in fraternity with the evangelical one." I love this gentleman's expression, the before and after. It's dead on as you read that. It mimics my emotions there.
The poor Holy Father, I'll tell you, early onset dementia is a terrible disease. It's just awful. But I will say, though, in the Holy Father's defense, that Eva Peron had a more interesting fashion sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go on.
That's it.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Wait, in the Holy Father's defense, Eva Peron had a more fashion sense?
A more interesting fashion sense.
So how is that defending the Holy Father? I don't understand.
How is it not?
I mean, I feel like
that one, smart guy.
I feel like you're criticizing his fashion.
I'm not criticizing his fashion. It was white.
Well, it seems like you want his fashion to come up to the level of Eva Peron's. Do you not?
No, that would require him wearing, furs and feathers and all that, and I wouldn't want to see him doing that.
But her fashion is nevertheless more interesting.
It is. And frankly, she was prettier than Pope Francis.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, what are you going to say? She wasn't? All right, who are you going to say was prettier, Evita or Pope Francis? Yeah, exactly. It was Evita. And I think that that's a strong enough defense of Pope Francis. He doesn't need any more from me, and he wouldn't want any more from me.
You're not defending Pope Francis. You're not saying he's pretty. You're criticizing his fashion sense.
I am not.
I feel like you're throwing ad hominems at Pope Francis. I feel like you're.
No, I'm throwing ad feminines at Evita Peron.
How are you doing that? You're saying she's pretty and has interesting fashion.
And she told Argentina not to cry for her. Because the truth is, she never left them. No, it's true. I mean, all her wild days, her mad existence, she kept her promise, and she didn't want Argentina to keep its distance. She loved them, and she'd hope they love her. You'll find it strange. But through all she'd gone through, she had to change. And as for fortune and as for fame, she never invited them in. They weren't the solutions they promised.
I feel like there's a conflict of interest here for your analysis because you're just biased in favor of Madonna playing Evita Peron.
I'd rather she played Evita Peron than the Virgin Mary, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Oh, man. I saw Edward Habsburg ranting about that, and I just... Yeah, that's...
He had a right to rant, I'm sorry to say. I'd rather she played Evita.
Yeah. I
would rather she'd not played Pope Francis.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a hard cast for her. That would be challenging.
What? Madonna is Pope Francis in. Well, it wouldn't be as blasphemous as they're doing the Virgin Mary. So
that's for
something.
Sure. Okay, yeah, I guess we'd prefer her playing Pope Francis to her being the Virgin Mary.
Yes, absolutely. Although I'd still prefer being Evita to Pope Francis.
Yeah.
Now, I thought Jonathan Pryce was perfect to play Pope Francis.
Yes.
And when Pope Francis was elected, one of my first thoughts that day was, well, he looks like Jonathan Pryce. I know who should play him in the biopic.
Yeah. I didn't see that movie with where they're buddies. Jonathan Pryce, I guess, and is it Anthony Hopkins played Pope Benedict?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I saw it.
What? Oh, okay. Not so hot, huh? Pretty
Not
cheeseball.
so hot.
Yeah.
You'd be better off watching, I don't know, Evita.
Whoa. Okay.
It's a good movie.
Okay.
The Pope doesn't appear in it though.
So
he was around then. I mean, as a boy, he was around when Perón was running Argentina.
Yeah, it was a huge influence on him. At least that's what historians say.
Well, historians, I mean, come on. Historians are like what? Recorders of facts.
Well,
yeah.
In theory.
How can you trust an historian who can back up what he says? How can you possibly trust someone who's that anal retentive? That he feels he's got to prove everything he says, so he brings up facts. Yeah. Anybody can bring up facts. It takes a really smart person to bring up utter lies and trash and get people to believe them.
It's inspiring.
Yes, it is. It's extremely inspiring.
Yeah.
I read Trash Can Custodians. I know.
Whoa. Okay.
What? What? Don't cry for me, Argentina.
You're just,
are you okay?
Okay, you're really trying hard on this one. You're a little. I feel like less is more. Less is more, Charles. Okay, so
less is more. What you call me multidimensional?
Just dial it down a little
being random. You can't have it both ways.
Look at dial it down a notch. Okay, that's all I'm asking. All right, moving on.
Love. Big, fluffy piles of love floating around. Is that better? Bunnies, little chicks, and kittens. And kittens small enough to where they can't really endanger either the chicks or the bunnies. They're little kittens, cute kittens.
You're hurting you more than you're hurting me. All right.
You know when kittens are very, very small, they don't even have the nails. They can't really claw anything. The kittens of that age, eyes barely open, just really sweet and cute.
Oh, amen. Okay.
All right, let's move along.
I don't know. Okay, yeah. So
move along.
I had asked the patrons on our little patron chat how they initially discovered Off the Menu, and a lot of them had really cool stories.
It's true.
But I thought I would share Jonathan's. I hope you don't mind, Jonathan. So Jonathan said, I was introduced to the podcast and Puritan's Empire by a good friend who monarchist pilled me. I am a historian, so I came for the history and the lessons on Catholic tradition. I stayed for the banter, ghost stories, chow mein sandwiches, culture, and mostly because a kind gentleman named Clancy said he'd break my pretty Dago kneecaps if I didn't.
I think that's probably the best reason I've heard yet. You know.
Absolutely.
It'd be a shame to break your pretty Dago kneecaps now, wouldn't it? You know you want to sit there and watch the whole thing, don't you? Of course you do. What a smart lad you are.
It's good to know that where Clancy's bread is buttered. You know, he knows where.
He sure does. Everybody at the tower knows that their bread is buttered. Even old Rose knows.
Yeah, but he's been really, really busy lately. There was this incredible accent I heard on the 210. I didn't see it. I don't really know what it was, but it was a big one.
Not anyone else.
So they were
Nobody saw nothing.
So they were doing a detour through Arcadia and saying you get off at Santa Anita, and it was really a long way around. It was really crazy. There was a lot of robbery, a lot of
It's
mayhem. But so he's really had his
terrible.
hands full. Yeah, he's really had his hands full. But
The sad. It was because of the rains. They said the rain shorted out the traffic lights, hence the accidents.
right. But
They had cops. They had cops having to stop the traffic, and literally at every stoplight because the lights were gone. But the problem was that they would stop like that. There's sudden stops. If you've got a truck full of stuff,
yeah.
stuff falls out of the back.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a rough week for Arcadia. It's been really rough, but I do have some good news actually. In a completely unrelated note, our gift shop is completely chock full with new goodies that are available for great prices. Everything from refurbished tires to refurbished cell phones. Lots of things we have in the Tumblr House gift store.
So I've been told they've got toasters. Yeah, I heard about the tires. Ladies and gentlemen, there aren't too many gift shops you can go to and buy tires. There just aren't that many. And there are towels, there's silverware. I even hear there are a few color TV sets. I mean, think about it, ladies and gentlemen. You go to most gift shops in most places, there are a few books, there's some little gewgaws, but the Tumblr House gift shop is a full-service emporium right now.
Heavy duty stuff.
Ever since the rains hit, the range of goods available has exploded. I tell you. It pays to have friends in law enforcement. On the other hand, if you belong to a trucking company, if you're a president or stockholder, or more importantly, a truck driver for a truck company, and you're barreling along the 210 late at night, and you see that detour sign at Santa Anita, maybe you'll want to get off somewhere else if you can, because I just hope you've either got an empty truck or a heavy load, one or the other. No, Arcadia has a totally unjustified reputation. People make up so many stories about our town. I'll tell you what, and none of it's true. None of it's true. Ever since Chief Clancy took over, Arcadia's law enforcement has really improved. You know what it is? It's advanced with the times. I mean, it used to be Arcadia was kind of behind the times. It wasn't like the rest of the country. But now, I would pit Arcadia's law enforcement against New York City, Chicago, New Orleans, Louisiana. It's right up there with the top cities of the country. Portland, Oregon, Minneapolis. I mean, and see, the thing is, those are all large cities, right? Arcadia is kind of a small place. But man, oh man, oh man, Shevitz, we're proud. We're proud of our law enforcement in Arcadia. How about you? And I can guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, that you will never, ever see the Arcadia Police Department get caught on video doing anything nasty. Because if you are there with a video and you're taking a picture of something, you're not going to get away with it.
That's right.
Look over there, boys. The man's got a telephone. Grab him. Oh, what a pity. Your phone seems to have broken. You stepped on it. Oh, so sorry. It was dark, don't you know?
Well, we take privacy seriously in Arcadia.
Privacy issues are very important. And you don't think, do you, that when a man joins the Arcadia PD, he loses his right to privacy? Now, that's in the Constitution. So let that be a lesson to you, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to take pictures of police brutality, you go somewhere other than Arcadia.
That's right.
Because there isn't any, at least none we can speak of.
No reported incidents. Clean record. Yep.
as always. Ugh.
All right.
So what do we got? We got a state of the month or what? A state of the week?
We'll get there. We'll get there. We got one more thing before State of the Week. We got a submission from Angela who says, "Greeting to the righteous rambler and his sidekick, the godfather of good books. I hope that your Advent has been blessed. I have a literary lightning round for Charles. Would he please participate by choosing which of the two authors, works, or characters he prefers? Thanks and God bless."
All right, let's have at it.
All right, here we go. Number 1, Hector or Achilles?
Hector.
Le Morte d'Arthur or Sir Gawain?
Oh, that's hard. Well, Morte d'Arthur.
Okay. Percy Hotspur or Henry V?
Oh, that's also tough, but we'll go with Henry V.
Gulliver's Travels or A Modest Proposal?
Gulliver's Travels.
Robert Burns or Thomas More?
Oh, you are cruel, lady, cruel. Thomas More.
Wow. Mrs. Bennet or Lady Catherine de Bourgh? De Bourgh?
De Bourgh. Lady Catherine.
What is that from? That sounds so familiar. I feel like I've... See, Lady Catherine is from...
Think.
So Mrs. Bennet is going to be Pride and Prejudice. Lady
Catherine is...
Sense and Sensibility? No? Yes? Lady Catherine.
I'm not telling.
Oh, that's going to be... is that Downton? Mrs. Darcy. Oh, that's... Okay, that's Mrs. Darcy's... okay. Okay, I get it. I got you. Okay. Well, definitely Mrs. Bennet. I mean, you picked Lady Catherine? Really?
Yes, I did.
Lady Catherine's nasty.
I know that.
Okay.
Like calls to like.
All right. Fairy tales or nursery rhymes?
Fairy tales.
Alfred Lord Tennyson or Thomas Hardy?
Oh, Lord Tennyson. No question.
Banjo Patterson or W.B. Yeats?
That is tough. That's as tough as Morte d'Arthur Gawain, but we'll go with Yeats, much as I love Banjo Patterson.
Father Brown or Sir Pete Wimsey?
Lord Peter. Father Brown, but again, it's close.
Okay. Ezra Pound or Virginia Woolf?
Ezra
Pound?
Pound.
Okay. Wilfred Owen or Rupert Brooke?
Rupert Brooke. He went to Toronto.
Okay. Gandalf or Samwise Gamgee?
Gandalf.
You picked that a little too quick for me. Okay.
All right. No, let's do it again. Ask the question once more.
Gandalf or Samwise Gamgee?
Gandalf.
Okay, there. I feel better. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Helena or Brideshead Revisited?
Brideshead.
And lastly, Wallace Stevens or Cat Stevens?
Cat Stevens.
Well, that was a good one.
David Crosby died. Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young for all of my fellow boomers. Let me hear you say the magic words.
What?
The magic words that you address to boomers when you want to annoy them.
Okay, boomer.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. State of the week. Are you ready?
I are ready.
Alaska.
Oh, well, my experience with Alaska is very restricted. In fact, I've only been to 2 of their towns and one of them briefly. Juneau is the capital. I saw the capital. Sitka is the other Alaskan town I know, and that was the Russian capital. And it's got the Russian Orthodox Cathedral, it's got the Finnish Lutheran Church, it's got the site of the Citadel. There's a lot of Russian influence in Sitka, and it's a very interesting place. And that's about all I know about Alaska. I mean, I can tell you that Point Barrow, you can have whale steaks, which kind of tastes like beefsteak marinated in cod liver oil. Anchorage is a big city. Summer in Alaska, you've got mosquitoes that'll eat you alive. There are grizzlies in Alaska. There are Eskimo and Aleut and Indians. It was part of Russia until 1867. And nominally speaking, part of Russian America came all the way down to California, Fort Ross, north of San Francisco. And in 1867, the Tsar sold it to the United States at the request of our Secretary of State, Mr. Seward. As a result, it had names like Seward's Folly and Seward's Icebox. Someone even suggested calling it Walrussia, like after walruses. But it was Russian America, and then we gave it the name Alaska when we bought it.
You said whale steaks?
Mm-hmm.
Won't that kill you? Like, I mean, not kill you, but I mean, mercury poisoning on that must be through the roof.
You're thinking of polar bear liver, which will kill you.
No, I mean, I thought there was a certain rule with mercury poisoning where sort of the longer the fish lives in the ocean, like the longer the lifespan, the more their fleshy, body accumulates mercury in the water. So
well, the Eskimos seem to enjoy it, so I don't know what to tell you.
Wow. Okay. Because I thought there was because I saw a documentary. I forgot. I think it's called The Cove about dolphins, and dolphin definitely get pretty serious mercury poisoning.
Well, all I can tell you, come on without, come on within. You ain't seen nothing like the mighty Flynn. When Flynn the Eskimo gets here, I'm sorry, you ain't seen nothing like the mighty Quinn. When Quinn the Eskimo gets here, everybody's going to jump for joy. Come on without, come out within. You ain't seen nothing like the mighty Quinn. When Quinn the Eskimo gets here, everybody's going to jump for joy.
Why?
I don't know. Listen to the song, find out.
He's going to get me, and then everyone's going to celebrate? That sounds like a sadistic society.
No, when Quinn the Eskimo gets here, not gets you.
Oh, I thought you said gets different. You.
When Quinn the Eskimo gets you. No, it gets here.
Okay.
When the Eskimo gets you. Well, that would be an interesting song. Come on without, come on within. You ain't seen nothing like the mighty Quinn. When Quinn the Eskimo gets you, everybody's going to jump for joy. You must have really pissed off everybody in the village. That's all I can say.
That's what okay. That makes more sense.
I wouldn't go to Alaska if I were you. I wouldn't go to Alaska if I were you. Quinn the Eskimo is gunning for you, apparently. Everybody's going to be happy when he gets you, finally. So I'd stay away.
Okay.
You keep a clear berth of Quinn the Eskimo.
All right. Now we got the serious questions.
Who's afraid of that?
Serious questions? Man that comes to mind, Vendée Radio, with a serious question for you.
Okay.
It says, Dear Charles, who would you regard as the best pope of the 17th century, and why?
Best pope of the 17th century. It's funny, there's so many candidates for bad. Blessed Alexander the 11th, because he's a blessed.
What what did he do?
Well, unfortunately, he fought with Louis XIV and opposed James II in the Stuart Restoration in Britain. He opposed the Stuarts because they were allies of Louis, but he was intensely holy, hence his becoming a blessed, and he reformed a good deal of life in the Diocese of Rome and the Papal States. So.
He wasn't the Borgia Pope, right? That was like Alexander the Fourth or something.
The sixth.
The sixth.
That was Alexander the Sixth.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what? I take it back. Innocent the 11th.
Whoa.
No, he was. Never mind. He was in the 18th century. Forget it.
But why would you say him? Let's say he was in the other century.
His encouragement of the crusade against the Turks. He very much agitated for Europe to support the Habsburgs in their struggle with Turkey. That was why it was Turkey Lurkey time.
I see.
You're not going to go there, are you?
Nope. All right.
The Ottoman lurks?
No.
No?
All right. Next question. Dear Don Vincenzo and Sir Charles, just wanted to let you guys know that I finished The Muse in the Bottle and Star Spangled Crown by Mr. Coulombe. The former is a really great anthology, even after all of these years. This is from Helvetio, by the way. So Helvetio has several questions. So he said,
"You bought your way in with compliments."
There you go. But he's going to challenge you on this one. He's going to say the monarchical government described in Star Spangled Crown sounds refreshingly normal. The only part which prevents me from jumping on the monarchist train is how the sovereign could even veto a bill with two-thirds support of the U.S. Congress. Does Charles really think a good government allows one man to annul the will of two-thirds of the people? What about three-fourths?
Well, of course, you're presuming that Congress represent the people.
Ooh.
They don't. Congress represent whoever pays the dough to get them in. Now, mind you, these are important people. But I've often thought that probably if we eliminated voting for Congress entirely and they were simply selected by whichever lobbyists buy them, it would reflect reality a lot more closely. I mean, say Union Carbide buys 27 of our congressmen. Well, why go through the nonsense of having elections when you could just have Union Carbide appoint 27 instead of having to buy 27 elected representatives?
It's interesting.
Well, I mean, all kidding aside, you see, I'm afraid you've made several assumptions that are not in evidence. One of them being that the people are actually represented by their elected officials. My problem with that is that I have lived all my life in a constitutional republic whose government have shoved down my throat things that often the majority opposed. Sometimes they do it through the Supreme Court. Sometimes they do it through Congress. But however they do it, we get to take it and like it and pay for it. Would I trust one man over that? Depends on the man. Depends on his training. Depends on his origins. We don't know the people that buy our congressmen. The closest you can come to for a list of that are the lobbyists.
I feel like history has vindicated that opinion of yours, which previously perhaps might be more not controversial, but more specious, or as some people might consider that. But I feel like the COVID lockdown is 100% proof of that. That was not a democratic arrangement, the way in which it happened. And one of the saddest things, about the lockdown is how it put so many small businesses out of business.
Yeah,
And I couldn't help but think of all the big businesses, all the corporations who could outlast, the lockdowns and sort of just choke out all the weaklings. I couldn't help but wonder if that was part of the reason for the lockdown. You know what I mean?
I do. And you hope it's not true.
Yeah.
You hope, you hope that, you hope it's not true. But the sad reality, is that if the last 2 years have proved nothing else, it's that in modern Western quote unquote democracies, the average citizen has very little control over his life. Now, mind you, that's always been the case. It's just that we had it shoved in our faces. Or as I love to say time and time again, when they had us put on our masks, they took theirs off.
Yeah.
But the good news also, when you talk about the 2/3 and representation and all that, what about a corrupt majority? Take our own state of California. Now, 61% voted for the worthless Governor Newsom. That's bad. 65% voted to enshrine infanticide in the state constitution. Now, even if Congress truly represented the majority, is that a majority that deserves representation? A lot of dead babies in California might argue otherwise. And under a circumstance like that, I wish there was a single individual who could say, no, Californians, you don't get to murder your infants. You're going to have to try something else. Maybe keeping it zipped. I really am aghast, frankly, that the thing passed with such a majority. And the fun part of that is that there's a 4% group of people in California who know that Newsom is a moron, but voted for infanticide anyway. Probably pro-abortion Republicans, a heaping helping of 4%. So, it's one of the tenets of classical liberalism that the people are basically good. The problem is the people are you and me. And you and me are miserable sinners. A majority of us put together is not necessarily right. So who decides? Well, it's a tough call. So you've got several layers. One, Congress, as I say, does not really represent the people. But two, even if it did, which people and when and how? Because remember, too, the majority changes. In 72, if abortion had been submitted to a referendum, a nationwide referendum, it would have been easily beaten. But in all the years since, we've had a decaying educational system, an ever more corrupt media, and an ever more unspeakable government, massaging and manipulating and changing and altering and accepting and helping the majority to become what they need them to be. So it always brings us back to the same problem.
Okay, let's see, what else does he have for you? Helvicio also says, it's very hard to find information about Saint Veronica, even though she apparently wrote 22,000 pages of diaries, letters, and poems in her lifetime. Do you think Tumblr House can look into translating some of that into English and getting it published? Oh, well, I guess that's for me. Yeah, absolutely. I can look into that.
Could be.
Yeah.
You could look into it.
I guess so. Here's a question for you about Saint Veronica. What does Charles know about Saint Veronica Giuliani? I've never heard of her until 2 days ago, even though no less a saint than Padre Pio looked up to her. Pope Leo XIII said about her, quote, "She has been so abundantly blessed with extraordinary graces that only the Mother of God exceeds her." Wow. That's a statement
Yeah,
right there.
it is a statement. She was from an old, I believe the Giulianis were a Venetian family, old noble family. Um, and I don't remember what I've read about her. I was she married? Ladies and gentlemen, if I do something I don't generally do when I'm asked a question and I don't have a proper answer, I'm going to look in front of you. Then she was a nun. There we go. Poor Claire. Yeah. All right. She was a Capuchin, Poor Claire, from Umbria. She had the stigmata. Um,
That makes sense why
listed,
she'd be on Padre Pio's radar, being the
yeah,
same order.
it's true. But it's interesting. This is something unusual. Giuliani's rebirth in Lebanon began with the devotion of a Lebanese religious, Brother Emmanuel, who came upon her writings in 1994 while serving in a monastery in Deir al-Zur, Syria. Emmanuel founded a religious order, the Little Servants of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, in 2015, and he believes Giuliani has chosen Lebanon as a country to begin or intensify her mission because Lebanon loves Our Lady a lot and has a very deep relationship with Mary. Banners throughout the country proclaimed a saint rises up in Lebanon, heralding the first saint in the world, the first church in the world outside of Italy, dedicated to St. Veronica Giuliani. The newly built church in Casalba, Lebanon, was consecrated on 9 July 2016, the saint's feast day. Huh. That is really quite amazing. But yes, I have heard of her. The stigmata, etc., etc. Oh, interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah. So I'll look into it for sure. I mean, 22,000 pages, that's a lot. I mean, if a saint is writing 22,000 pages, like my immediate gut reaction is like that's going to be like she had to discern that she had to write that God wanted to write her to write that much. So I feel like it's going to be some substantial things in there. So I'll research that, Helvicio. So thank you for showing that to me. All right, Charles always talks about how the French are best at everything, but I get the impression that he believes Americans are better at writing fiction. Is that true? If it's not, who are Charles's 4 favorite writers after Washington Irving? Thanks for answering my questions. I'll keep praying for the success of Charles's surgery.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, so far so good. Thank you for continuing to do so. Well, to answer your question, I wouldn't say the Americans are better than the French at writing fiction, but they certainly do have a flair for it. So my 4 favorite after Washington Irving would be Edgar Allan Poe, Nathaniel Hawthorne, H.P. Lovecraft, and Ray Bradbury.
That's a good list.
Yeah, I think so. Of the 5, counting Irving, I've only known one.
Oh, well, Bradbury, obviously. Yeah.
Obviously, people have accused me of being older than I look, and that would be really old. And I'm multidimensional. You don't know.
It's true.
Time is a dimension.
Okay.
For all you know, there was a photograph taken of me and Washington Irving.
Yeah, there's various strange photos of you where these people who are in these photographs clearly look like you. These very old photos. It's on the internet, actually.
Yep.
Pretty creepy, to be honest.
It is creepy. I'm creeped out. I'm creeped out on a regular basis. All I do is look in the mirror and I get creeped out.
All right. Next question is from Andrew from New Jersey by way of Long Island, Connecticut
Here,
Respecter,
here.
Lower Hudson Valley Enjoyer, Monophysite Destroyer. Andrew says, is Charles aware of the cultural trend known as dark academia? And if so, can he comment on it and tell us what he thinks? Seems like something he would get behind.
I've never heard of it. I don't know the first thing about it. Dark academia. Now this is the second thing. Dark academia. I don't know anything about it. Is that like vocal fry? Dark academia.
Well, since it's dark, so we know like light is liberalism, right? Like the Enlightenment and the Dark Ages is when, you know, Christendom ruled the world. So I'm sure it's in that same vein.
Wow, listen to this. I've never, ever heard of this.
What is it?
This is a Wikipedia source of all truth.
Uh-oh.
Dark academia is a social media aesthetic and subculture concerned with higher education, writing/poetry, the arts, and classical Greek and collegiate Gothic architecture. The subculture is associated with ancient art and classic literature. Aesthetic. The fashion of the 1930s and 40s, sounds good, figures prominently in the dark academia aesthetic, particularly clothing associated with attendance at Oxbridge, Ivy League schools, and prep schools of the period. A number of the articles of clothing most associated with the aesthetic are cardigans, blazers, dress shirts, plaid skirts, Oxford shoes, and clothing made of houndstooth and tweed. Its color palette consisting mainly of black, white, beige, browns, dark green, and occasionally navy blue. I've never heard of this. The subculture draws on idealized aesthetics of higher education and academia, often with books and libraries featuring prominently. Activities such as calligraphy, museum visits, libraries, coffee shops, and all-night studying sessions are common among proponents. That's like trying to get a decent grade.
This is a really dark concept, apparently. This is really
dark,
a
dark,
nightmare.
Right. It's called sanity. Seasonal imagery of autumn is also common. Caught me already. Imagery of Gothic and collegiate Gothic architecture, candlelight, dark wooden furniture, and dense cluttered rooms often occurs. The subculture has been described as maximalist and nostalgic. Universities that are often featured in dark academia image boards include Oxbridge, Durham University, the University of Edinburgh, the University of Glasgow, and Harvard University. I've been at all those places. The subculture shares similarities with goth subculture, tending to romanticize the finding of beauty in poetry and dark themes. Well, I don't have seen any dark themes yet. Tim Brinkoff of Big Think. There's something. What's Big Think? Multimedia web portal. Okay. Has stated that, quote unquote, moody architecture and philosophical pessimism are key aspects of the aesthetic, as opposed to what? Wokery? Wokery is very optimistic. Hannah Southwick of USA Today. Oh, there you go. USA Today, that excreter of sanity, has described it as a quote-unquote melancholic aesthetic, citing a fashion stylist who described it as boarding school meets goth enthusiast. Wow. History. In 2015, the trend emerged on social media site Tumblr with the creation of a book club that centered around classic and Gothic novels. The aesthetic then grew into a distinct subculture, seeing a wave of popularization on Instagram led by Ryan Taylor. I've never heard of these people, and Maria Teresa Negro in 2017. Dark academia rose in popularity during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, I can figure that. Increased interest in dark academia has been credited to the shutdown of schools. Well, I can see that too. If you can't go to school, the ability to actually go to school is kind of exciting. Wow. Never heard of this stuff. A number of classic works of literature, such as Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, Maurice by E.M. Forster, as well as the works of writers such as Lord Byron and Percy Bysshe Shelley, i.e. writers, have been cited as either influential or popular among the subculture or fitting within its aesthetics. Donna Tartt's novel, what a name, Donna Tartt, The Secret History, published in 1992, which tells the story of a murder that takes place with a group of classic students at an elite New England college, has been credited as being the inspiration for the trend. Other more recent books, such as R.F. Kuang's novel Babel, J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series, If We Were Villains by Emma Rio, Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, and Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, Under the Porticos by S. Charpentier, have also been included. A number of films and TV series have also been credited as fitting into the aesthetic. The 1989 film, The Dead Poets Society, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Reception, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here we go. Criticism. Okay. Dark academia has been criticized for a variety of reasons, including the aesthetic's perceived Eurocentrism. Oh, lack of diversity and glamorization of unhealthy lifestyle choices. You mean like not being locked down? Like being able to go to school? Okay. Critics of the aesthetic have argued that the English literary canon from which it draws inspiration is an overwhelmingly white one. With Tim Brinkoff claiming that associated content creators prefer to discuss Oscar Wilde and Emily Dickinson over Toni Morrison or James Baldwin.
That's because Toni Morrison sucks. Jazz sucked. That's
well,
why.
I was going to say they prefer good authors to bad ones. Okay, great. Sarah Burton, a sociology fellow at City University of London, has noted that the aesthetic contains little representation of, quote, most women, working class, people of color, fatness, people with low economic or cultural capital, disability, caring in domestic activities and labor, especially the enjoyment of these, motherhood, queerness, and the mundanity of academic life. You know, I'm being forced into endorsing it now.
Efforts have been made to incorporate literary works from Black authors such as Langston Hughes into dark academia. That's because Langston Hughes is actually good. We're not adding him because he's Black, guys. He's actually good.
I just, what a bunch of. All right. I can't read anymore. I can't do it. You know what? I'm all for it.
Oh,
dark academia
goodness.
rules. I mean, what is the? But see, if it's dark academia, they're saying dark academia doesn't have enough. It has too much whiteness in it.
Well, no. What really stuck out to me is this Tim Brinkoff guy saying moody architecture and philosophical pessimism. Moody architecture, like what's like? That's such a weak criticism. Moody architecture, like what does that even mean?
I don't know. I think philosophical pessimism is justified by the fact that people like Brinkoff are taken seriously as cultural commentators. So maybe there's a reason to be philosophically pessimistic at a time when people like that have big mouths. Not that that's a bad thing.
But
I have a big mouth myself.
But what's funny is, like, as you're going through this Wikipedia article, it's very nuanced, kind of a little bit more subtle, like digs the whole time. It's very subtle, and to me, I could sort of see the intent. Like I could see it was making these liberals really unhappy, but there's really nothing concrete that they could say. But then finally, when we got to the criticism one, then it's just bald-faced hatred. Eurocentric, how dare you? Lack of diversity. Rah!
Well, again, if you've got problems with Eurocentrism, stop speaking European languages. Stop using European technology. Stop wearing European clothing. Stop eating European food and using European medicine. Sit in the mud and eat grubs.
Without even knowing what this was, I was able to call it too, because these people are so unimaginative. Oh, dark academia, right? Like, of course, and it was exactly what we would guess it would be, even though it doesn't. What's interesting too What's interesting too, what they said, it actually is completely contradictory. You didn't read this section, Charles. One
No,
writer compared it to the contemporary cottagecore lifestyle aesthetic, saying that while cottagecore requires a home in the country and leisure time for crafting, dark academia's simple act of putting on a blazer and reading Dostoevsky is far more doable, end quote. What is so dark about cottagecore? I don't actually literally cottagecore is literally the opposite of dark.
what is Cottagecore?
Ooh, you're
Oh,
gonna
it's
want
an
to click
internet
that.
aesthetic.
My
I
wife
just
loves.
did. It's an internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's?
In 2 words? Thomas Kincaid. That
Well,
there it is. That's the aesthetic, right? Thomas
the
Kincaid
artist of light.
cottages. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it's a subculture, millennials and Generation Z. All right. My generation offers millennials and Generation Z piles of crap. And for some reason, they don't appreciate it. I get it. All right, fine. Goblin core. That's interesting. The folklore of goblins. Eesh, that's weird.
But I mean,
Never
they're
heard of
trying to
it.
call cottagecore dark and like.
I don't get it.
Oh, here we go. Now, Taylor Swift, actually, interestingly, I quote, Taylor Swift accelerated cottagecore popularity in 2020 with her 8th studio album, Folklore. I feel like it's kind of a stretch, but she's so popular that she kind of pushed people there. So it's like, okay, I'll take it. But
here we go. At the bottom of the Wikipedia source of all truth, cottagecore thing, the very last paragraph. Here we go with the open moron. In the New York Times, Isabel Stone relates cottagecore to minimalism, describing both as, quote, wholly unrealistic depictions of life filtered by perfection. Yeah, I know if you're aspiring to something better than the garbage you've got, it's unrealistic. I get it. That's why you should take whatever crap you're handed by life and just shut up. I understand. Rebecca Jennings, writing for Vox magazine, describes cottagecore and dark academia. It's weird how they link them as, quote, oh, this is great, quote, historical aesthetics that evoke conservative values and gender rules. Oh, boo boo.
That's it. He actually said it.
Including Eurocentrism and heteronormativity.
There it is.
All right.
There it is.
You know what? Yay, dark academia. Yay, cottagecore.
I thank you for bringing this up, Andrew. I love this. I love, these people are so stupid they don't realize that their words are actually pushing people to the other side.
No, they don't. They don't. Break on through to the other side. You morons and you dimwits. I just
historical aesthetics.
The problem with them is that they emphasize heteronormativity. Okay.
Well, it's not even.
I told you my answer.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's just word salad. It spews. It means nothing. If you're going to critique something, ladies and gentlemen, that's fine. It's great. Hauntology, food forest. God bless us all. All these words, queer anti-urbanism. Now, you can't accuse queer anti-urbanists of heteronormativity, or can you? I don't know. What does it say at the end?
You're going down the rabbit hole, Charles, and just.
I'm not doing this. I mean, dark romanticism, steampunk. I know.
Your brain's like exploding.
I just, man, oh man, there's all this stuff I don't know, and I was happy until 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. Now, but all right, Andrew from New Jersey. I am going on record as endorsing dark academia on the one hand, cottagecore on the other. So how about an obscure country university surrounded by a happy village with happy farmers, and where everyone lives happy lives and aren't a bunch of idiot morons whose whole lives are consumed by resentment against people who aren't criminally broken?
Their words didn't even make sense. A wholly unrealistic depiction? What's unrealistic about a cottage? Like, I don't get what's unrealistic.
I've never seen one. I've never seen a cottage.
Yeah,
I've been in an apartment all my life.
Anne of Green Gables, totally unrealistic. I know. lady. Okay. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to say. You know, uh, I've been brought into a world suddenly I never knew existed, and brought face to face with enemies of that world who were beyond stupid. You know, I think Tom Brinkoff probably lurks on the 13th floor, or perhaps twerks there.
No.
I just, what do you say to that? It's nonstop crap. And you know what gets me is the mingy little criticisms. Oh, it's not this, it's not that.
Moody
Ooh.
architecture. Oh.
How about Moody Blues?
Yeah. Oh, well, that's like that.
That's different.
Yeah.
But moody architecture. Well, what's your idea of unmoody architecture? You know,
To me, the opposite of that is like, oh, architecture that inspires no feeling whatsoever, does not evoke any feeling. Okay.
brutalism.
Yeah,
Brutalism.
brutalism.
Yeah. All right. Well, then live in a brutalist apartment somewhere and die, as we all must someday. Stupiditas omnia vincit. You know what that means?
Stupidity conquers all. There you go.
You have to be a dark academic to know that much Latin.
Oh yeah. Oh man, thank you, Andrew, for this one. You're really able to do what I haven't been able to do with Charles. It just it feels good. Especially after that pre-show where I was on the receiving end. Is good to.
Were you on the receiving end of the pre-show?
Wait, was I?
Forgot. What happened?
All right. Next. All right. So Anita.
No, wait a minute. What happened on the pre-show that you were upset about?
You were being ungentlemanly to me.
About what?
You were being disrespectful.
Disrespectful.
Yes. A sentence that I said, which was not well thought out, which you jumped on like a hyena.
I tore bites of words out of that sentence, ladies and gentlemen. It's true. I don't want to give away what it was. You can look at the pre-show, you know, as a patron or whatever. But man, it's true. You threw me. It was so delicious going down the chunks of meat. It was good. It was delicious. Hyena-like. Right. Yeah, it's true. I was like a hyena. I pounced. But I mean, what do you do? What does the hyena do when you throw a lamb in front of it? What does the hyena do? And that's what you did. It's like, meh, meh. I wonder what the hyena will do if I throw this at him. Snap, snap. That's what the hyena will do.
Okay, fair enough.
Poor little lamb didn't have a chance.
You're supposed to rise above your instincts, your appetites. You're supposed to abstain.
I know you are. But when you get a delicious morsel thrown at you, what are you supposed to do? I mean, you know, I'm only made of flesh and blood. And like the hyena with the lamb thrown at it, I couldn't help myself. It was so perfect.
All right.
It was just an offering to the gods. And I'm no god, but I took the offering.
Okay. We have a bunch of questions from Anita. Superfan Anita, who says, Dear gentlemen, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I've continued to pray for Charles's health and hope he will be well rested after your off the menu break. Meanwhile, I want to do my bit to make sure he has no shortage of questions to answer when you come back. Oh, thank you, Anita. That's very thoughtful. I love Charles's answer to my question about the continued existence of the Holy Roman Empire. So I want to continue in the monarchist vein. Ooh. Since we have an English coronation coming up in a few months, let's talk about some crown jewels. What are the oldest known pieces of British regalia? Did any of it survive Cromwell's campaign of destruction, or did it all have to be remade after the Restoration?
That's a really good question, and actually not one that I can answer offhand. I know that what's now called King Edward's crown was made of pieces of the old St. Edward's crown. That's a very good question. The history of the crown jewels, which I've read and retained nothing of.
Okay. That's okay. What can you tell us about Hungary's crown of Saint Stephen? Did Saint Stephen really wear this crown that survives to present day? Why is this cross on top askew? And why don't they fix it?
Well, there is a difference of opinion as to whether St. Stephen actually wore it or wore part of it, because apparently it's in two pieces. Part of it was Byzantine, part of it was Latin. So I don't remember the specifics. The crown was knocked askew like that over the course of time, and they don't repair it because that would be to interfere with something sacred. The Holy Crown of St. Stephen is considered as the ruler of Hungary, whoever wears it being his viceroy, its viceroy. It's a very unique thing in Europe, but the Hungarians have a tribal affection for it. And I'm not being insulting when I say that. It's almost a fetish. Yeah, and it got hit at some point. It's had quite a history. I saw it 4 weeks ago, before I went in for my operation. The Saturday before December 22nd, I went to Budapest and saw it for the first time in Parliament, which is where it's kept, as the symbol of, well, it's more than a symbol, as the true ruler of Hungary. Well, I've actually not seen that many. I've seen the Hungarian, I've seen the Imperial in Vienna, the Hofburg, which I would say is the most impressive, the Crown of Charlemagne and all that. I've seen the French, which are in several different places, in the Louvre and at the Cathedral at Reims. And the coronation crown of Louis XV, which is at the Louvre, is very impressive. It's got a fleur-de-lis made of diamond. You don't see that very often. And of course, I've seen the British crown jewels in the Tower of London. I've seen the Honours of Scotland in Edinburgh. And those are the only ones I've seen. Hungarian, Imperial, French, English, and Scots. Of the bunch, as I say, I would say the Imperial are the most impressive. But they're all quite something. And there are quite a few I'd like to see still. The Prussian, the Saxon, the Czech, of course. You can't see the crown of Saint Wenceslaus is never exhibited to the people except once every 7 years or something. It's an extremely impressive looking thing, though, the crown of Saint Wenceslaus.
All right. Finally, what do you think about the idea of an American Catholic monarchist party? Some people dismiss out of hand the idea of a Star-Spangled Crown. Oops, was that a plug? Now, this is a plug, Anita. Star-Spangled Crown available in the Tumbler House bookstore for about $15.95. Order 2 and get free shipping and handling.
Is that right? Free shipping and handling?
That's right, Charles. But wait, there's more. Limited time offer. While supplies last. Sorry, no CODs. Void where prohibited.
No assembly required. Operators are standing by.
Batteries not included.
Order now.
You
get this free. Go ahead.
Be the first on your block.
That's right.
Go. Yeah.
Not an actor.
Not an actor. Yep. All right. God, it's been a while, right? We were really rusty on that. It's kind of a little embarrassing, to be honest. But yeah. So thank you for that opportunity, Anita.
It's true. It's true, ladies and gentlemen. We're very happy to be able to brush up on our late night advertisement skills.
Yes. Okay, so
you'd have to be watching channel 5, channel 9, channel 11, or channel 13 late at night to get those good deals.
That's right. So But when we consider, so she says, goes on, says, when we consider that monarchy has prevailed through most of human history and seems most in accord with human nature, and when we further consider the events of the last couple of years, I rather think that it is democracy that is turning out to be the LARP. What say you? Ooh.
I can't I can't disagree. I mean, the problem is that the majority of royals have accepted the same sort of democracy that we were taught growing up, and accept A, that the voice of the politicians is the voice of the people, and B, that the majority of the people at any given time somehow have superior wisdom, which sometimes is true, sometimes isn't. It depends on the period and the weird symbiosis between rulers and ruled, because they each come to resemble one another. A corrupt rulership will produce a corrupt people. Corrupt people will produce corrupt rulers. And how you straighten that out, it's a very hard call. A Catholic monarchist party in America as it is now, I cannot see any ultimately successful political action in the United States without conversion. I mean, we had a certain sort of religiosity, a certain secular religiosity, married to a moral consensus that allowed the country to function in the past. That's all gone. If anything is to replace it, it has to be the majority, and here's where majorities are important because they do set the tone. If the majority of the country were believing Catholics, her institutions would naturally and organically alter in a positive manner. And we might very well get a Catholic monarchy. But as things stand, only a minority of the states have a problem with infanticide. What kind of government are you going to come out of are you going to get out of a bunch of baby killers? It's tough. It's enough to make you retreat to the groves of dark academe, or to cultivate the core of your cottage.
Well, I'm really glad I got to introduce you to Cottage. I thought Cottagecore was really, really popular, so that everybody kind of knew about it. But
I'm
no.
an old duffer. I don't know this stuff. I'm a boomer. Come on, say the word.
Okay, boomer.
Thank you.
So, just sort of thinking about now as we're talking about it, I don't think I believe that a good king can come out of a good people. I don't think it can work that way. I feel like it just as authority flows from the top down, I feel like learning flows from the top down. Like the people above us are naturally always going to be the teachers. And
even if what they have to teach us is garbage. But the problem is, I mean, again, you come to a chicken and egg thing. To have decent leadership, you've got to have decent followers, but to have decent, you find is that these things often come out of seeming nowhere.
Oh. Could you say that again? I'm sorry. Start with, to have decent leadership, you have to have decent followers.
To have decent leadership, you have to have decent followers. To have decent followers, you have to have decent leadership. You have this, how you break that catch-22, I don't know. I mean, we know it happens historically. It's happened. Great leaders have arisen, and smacked everybody around, and then pulled something together. But then again, out of mass conversions of people, decent leaders have risen to the top. It is hard. It's very, very difficult, I think, it's very, very difficult to simply do. You've got to have the right things in motion, and frankly, I don't know how to do those right things. I don't know what's required. What I do know is that in our time, there's been very little in the way of decent leadership of any kind. And that cannot be a reward to a virtuous populace. I mean, think of poor old blessed Kaiser Karl. There we had a saint, and what happened to him? Or for that matter, Louis XVI on this very day, 230 years ago. He was a much better man than the people that killed him. And the majority of the nation just watched as it happened. So I don't know. But then again, you have someone like Clovis or Charlemagne who rise up and pull everything after them. I don't know.
I think whatever leaders that are good that we're going to get, there has to be one conscious decision that they have to make, which is that it's basically like the choice of Blessed Karl, that you're willing to suffer for your people. That because if you want to be a force for good, to change things, and to have a serious leadership position, you will be a target. Your life will be hell. And you have to be willing to accept that. You have to be willing to jump into that fire.
Sadly.
You know?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. So here we are. Anyway, that's the best I've got.
Okay. All right. This is it's been a great full episode anyway. Can't speak for the pre-show, even though it was quite long, but it's been a great full episode.
Did something happen in the pre-show that upset you, or in any way put you off your feet?
I mean, you being a bully and mean-spirited and sort of
Are you accusing me of bullying? Are you laying me
Eurocentric.
open? Well, okay. Are you laying me open to being canceled? Is that what you're doing? You're throwing me up as a victim to cancel culture? All because you yourself flung me a ready opportunity that no one with a gut could have resisted?
What are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm saying, are you opening me up to cancel culture purely because you flung me a tidbit that no one could have resisted?
That's very effeminate for you to say that. Oh, I couldn't resist. It's very effeminate, I feel like people would say.
Oh, yeah? I go back to the hyena and the lamb then. Is that masculine enough for you?
Okay.
That'd be a great sign for a pub, the hyena and the lamb.
That would be, truly.
Arr.
Well, you've had a calm year. It's time to get some drama. Time to rile some folks up, right?
That's what I gave you during the pre-show, and you got excited and upset.
Well, I'm speaking for you, not for me.
I see. Oh, well, okay. Got me there, pal. Well, listen, it has been a journey of discovery on this trip. Boy, dark academia and cottagecore.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a mad world, my masters. But you know what I think people should really do right now?
What?
Well, it's late January, and even in Los Angeles, it is cold. It is dark. Let me just look. Los Angeles weather. Let's see if you've got rain in the forecast. What's in the 60s? Oh gosh, there's no rain at all in this coming week. No rain for the next. Oh, wait a minute. February 1st, you'll have showers. So you may have rain in the first week in February, if that, but you know, the further off it gets, the least you can rely on it. At any rate, I'm just grateful that you and everyone else in LA were able to sort of huddle and cuddle in your homes and houses and just, you know, be uber warm and comfy.
Yeah. It's nice being comfy.
It is. And for those of us right now where it's snowing, I can tell you that being comfy and cozy is not a bad thing at all. And I would just like to quote the lyrics of one of my favorite songs, which seems pretty appropriate right now. Not Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, although that is also very appropriate for some people at the moment. No. It is the lyrics to a song called John of Dreams by Bill Caddick. And it just, right now, ladies and gentlemen, it's very cold outside and it's very warm and pleasant here inside. And in the not too distant future, I'm going to slide into bed. So here it goes. John of Dreams from Bill Caddick. When midnight comes and people homeward tread, seek now your blanket and your feather bed. Home comes the rover, his journey's over. Yield up the nighttime to old John of Dreams. Across the hills the sun has gone astray. Tomorrow's cares are many dreams away. The stars are flying, your candle is dying. Yield up the darkness to old John of Dreams. Both man and master in the night are one. All things are equal when the day is done. The prince and the plowman, the slave and the freeman, all find their comfort in old John of Dreams. When sleep it comes, the dreams come running clear. The hawks of morning cannot reach you here. Sleep is a river, flow on forever. And for your boatman, choose old John of Dreams. Isn't that lovely?
That's nice. Yeah. All right. That was a nice one. But
so,
yeah. What?
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you,
Do
what is it?
For me?
Yes, I do. What is it if it's Monday?
Don't help me. I work best without a net. Hold on. It's off the menu.
But what about the soul you save?
All things considered, it may well be your own.
See you next time, everyone.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you all. My best to old John of Dreams.